Now, as well as that, and I don't mean to sound like, because I do think, you win it on a field, and it's how you approach it on the field on the day, and the preparation coming up to it. But like, there has to be something looked at. And I think Congress this year was so frustrating from that point of view. Like the investment per player cannot be argued with.
It's so obvious. And I know Steve doesn't like this, but it is so
right,
badly
Stephen. Well, we can row about this all night, because I have all night. It really annoys me.
But before you get into the investment per player, like look at this for any other sport. Like, if I was playing any other sport, but I could play all my finals in my own house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sleep in my own bed. Do you know what I mean? Maybe if they brought in
Park is Dublin's, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like they're playing a home venue every game. So that has to be an advantage. I think that's a big advantage. I think.
Of course it is, but you look at, was it the 2015 or 2014 was the Kerry semi-final. 2015 was Dublin, and we drew with Dublin in the semi-final. And I think it was the 2015 one. Like, so there was 6 days between that and the replay. It had been, as all Mayo games are, a huge hitting game, like great for the neutrals, nails chewed down to the quick if you were from Mayo or Dublin. And Mayo had to, like, I don't know whether they stayed that night because they had, the plans had been in place. They may have stayed and were down on the Monday or whatever the case may be. But the replay was the following Saturday. Like, Dublin, within 2 hours that evening, were back doing, and ye can testify to how important that recovery work is. Because I know 100%. This was a big thing for ye. And making a comparison to what you'd done for Beaumont, and then, for the hospice, and how you recover yourselves. And like, they were doing their recovery within 2 hours. Mayo, it was probably 24 hours later.
And then just traveling back down to Mayo, do you know what I mean? I know they're probably getting the train or whatever, and they're chilled out a bit.
It doesn't matter. It's not the same though, is it? Like, it's not the same as going home to sleep in your own bed. It's not the same as, getting your meals delivered to your door. And that's fine. Like, people are willing to invest in Dublin because of the success story there, and that's absolutely fine. I have no problem with, the sponsorship deals they attract and all that. It is more difficult for rural teams, but I know there was a comparison made with Leitrim and what their sponsorship compared to AIG was. What their sponsorship deal was worth, and it was enough to cover what Leitrim needed. But like, how do you, like? It has to be disheartening for players in other counties, and that's not being disrespectful. But like, why would you get? Myself and my sister were talking about this one night over the course of the championship. Why would you get up and play an Ulster Championship game now?
Yeah, it's a funny one. But like, what's the other option? People are talking about splitting them into 2 or 3 or 4.
I'm not a fan of that either.
I'm just letting you chat away until I get my chance.
Like, there's a soliloquy coming from Stephen now in about 5 minutes.
It'd be just awful to see Dublin North versus Dublin South, and then
they'd still win it, Pete.
It would
because it's not about splitting them up. It's about balancing the amount of finances that they can use at their disposal to develop the next bunch of players. You can't have one bunch of players getting one thing because they're from 6 miles down the road. You could literally be 1 mile down the road in Meath, and you don't have the same opportunity as the lads in Dublin because they've just got an absolute monopoly on how that they bring in sponsorship, how they bring in gate receipts, the whole works. And if you think that finances don't have an effect on the field and you want to be a traditionalist like Stephen, well, you're full of shit, because Man United won fucking how many years in a row? They won 10 titles in 13 years because they had more money than everyone else. And now Man City have more money than anyone else. And the last 10 years, they've won 5 titles. Finances make a difference.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree completely. But they have to actually take out the Croke Park factor as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the problem. The problem with the funding is the funding they're getting directly from the additional funding. So, every county is entitled to funding, but there's additional funding because they're Dublin, and that's not balanced. Yeah. The sponsorship opportunities, that's up to a county to develop, a corporate plan, and that's the way it's gone to attract new spots. Like, look, Port Wester on the new Mayo jersey. Like, obviously a lot of work went into that. So they're on the back, Elvery's on the front, and that's another investment for Mayo, which has to be good. But if you're getting additional money from the headquarters of a sporting body because you're a certain body, there's something wrong there. Now, Stephen, off you go.
Right. Actually, the only point out of that I would agree with. Well, I agree with it a little bit, all of it, but is Pete's thing about how, within an hour or two, everyone's at home in bed, in their own beds, and they don't have to be worried about traveling. But then again, that's the way it's been since 1884. If Dublin got in.
Yeah, but there's more games now. There's more games now.
There is, yeah. But also, more games now. At the end of the day, it's 15 against 15. And no matter how much, don't tell me that the Mayo players or the Tyrone players or the Kerry players, I'm using the top six. Cork, well, I wouldn't even call Cork a top six team anymore. Maybe Galway. Don't tell me that they're not getting looked after, and there's only so much extra you can do with the player.
Yeah, but are there under 16s?
Well, that's what I mean. It's up to the counties and the county boards to put it in plan. I know people that have plans done out for underage. It's time that other counties put these things in. There's this thing about underage that, let them enjoy the game. And that is great. Obviously, we want to let them enjoy the game.
No.
They shouldn't be don't enjoy it. If anything, they should cry.
In fact, I've actually done. I'm doing a fundamentals course in GAA at the minute because I have plans. Martin, my uncle, got in to manage the ladies Sligo under 16, and he wants to bring me in underneath them. Now, for me, it's not my dream; it's his dream. But I would like to be involved, as I love the GAA and I love even the LGFA. I love the actual Gaelic game itself. But the thing is to put the plans in place from right down to under 14s and then bring them all the way up and then bear your fruit. A bit like what the rugby had done a few years ago. A lot of rugby teams. Ballina is a perfect example. They have a brilliant, for girls and lads, a brilliant underage teams. And they're developing them all the time. And now they're in I don't know if they stayed up, but they got into the actual league proper last year or 2 years ago. I think it's time to invest in our youth and bring them along all the way to the seniors. And again, at the end of the day, I think it's 15 against 15. And I really do believe that it's a mental thing. We've had this discussion before. I do think that West of Ireland teams go up to Croke Park 2 points down before the whistle is even blown.
Well, why do you think that's the case, Stephen?
I don't. It's an attitude thing.
I'm just genuinely interested because you look at the Galway teams that won All Ireland's or Currafin.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. They have a different. They're like a Dublin. They're like
but Galway as well. For some reason, they always seem to perform when they go. Now we have as well. We just can't see it past the line. But when they won it in '98 and 2001,
yeah,
and they were being managed by a man from Balladrine, actually,
John O'Mahony.
Yeah, and he had managed Mayo before as well, but they just had a winning attitude. And
but you can't say that consistency of winning is not linked to just having 15 good footballers. Because if that was the case, then Mayo would have won a title because they have 15 excellent footballers.
Sorry, and the squad, and the squad.
What I'm saying is that the constant development of new players in the last couple of years has to be linked to more finances going to a one-sided team. It's indisputable that Dublin have more money. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing with that at all.
They've also channeled that into consistent wins in every grade. The only thing that they're not winning at is hurling, and they are much closer than they were 15 or 20 years ago.
They're getting closer, though. They're getting closer.
Absolutely, yeah. They've poured it. Yeah.
So you might,
100%.
I think you're looking at rose-tinted glasses and going, it's an attitude thing. But I was like, no, they're developing and holding on to talent better than everyone else because they have the financial means to keep them invested.
What's the solution? What is the solution to?
You can't take
$1 million question.
You can't take it away from Dublin, but you have to raise it everywhere else. More money has to go. You have to put a shitload more money into the rest of the teams, and you have to have parity. You know, and if Dublin are getting government grants to open clubs left, right, and centre, and fair play to them, it is growing the game, but it is a massively unfair advantage that they are exploiting.
Is it growing the game though, or is it killing? You know, in some ways, like there was a huge discussion around this, you know, last year in 2020 because of we probably had more time to discuss it than actually just watch it on the field of play. But like, even though the championship was different, it was the same. You know, it was the same as the previous 5 years or whatever. It was more of the same. So I would be worried, and I know people said, oh, you know, you can't say be worried about the future of the game. I would be a little bit worried about where the game is headed, because I think, like, you look at it, was it the previous year, they couldn't travel this year, but a lot of them, there was a couple of lads from the Westmeath panel. I know John Mahan is managing Offaly, and he had said the same at some of the Mayo GAA TV games were chatting, you know, about different things like that. It was getting harder and harder to keep lads in the squad during the summer, because they felt they had to be gone by a certain date to the US if they were going to play football out there. And they were just thinking, sure, why would we stay? Like, we've no chance of winning a Leinster.
And they're getting,
you know,
they might get paid in America to play.
They're getting a few bob, absolutely. They were getting a few bob in the States, and you can't blame lads. And what I'd worry about is at the minute.
That's tradition, Angelina. These counties traditionally weren't. Well, I said that wrong. Offaly came in spurts, but traditionally Offaly wouldn't have been in the last 20 years, 30 years a footballing team anyway.
But Meath didn't get demolished year in, year out, not even fucking getting in within a hair's breadth of them. They were always tight games. Look at the early 90s. Meath,
I know that, yeah.
They were All Ireland champions in 1996. So
and 88.
So they've got tradition, and they were horrible to play against. Now, if Mayo get Meath in the All Ireland semi-final, we're fucking laughing.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, we're laughing. We're still kind of thinking,
Pete, I'm with you. You're still kind of going, like, even coming up to the Tipperary game this year, and that's no disrespect to Tipperary, because by God, I was absolutely delighted to see them winning. But we were kind of going, ooh, I wonder, could Tipperary ever take us?
Yeah.
You know, it's a Mayo thing. Actually, Stephen, I think you're right. After all of that, it's an attitude thing, because definitely.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Dead Hedgehogs YouTube channel.
Look, guys, and thank you very much for your support. And if you would like to support us a little bit more, you can always become a patron. The link is in the description. Cheers, guys.